Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I want you to imagine just for a second, leaving your entire life behind, betting absolutely everything you own and stepping into an invisible, high-stakes labyrinth that literally spans continents. Today, we're uncovering the deeply clandestine, meticulously engineered journey of Nepali migrants trying to reach the streets of Paris. We are going to break down an underground system that operates right under our noses, using some truly astonishing tactics to bypass modern airport security. It is a wild story of sheer desperation, highly sophisticated forgery, and a multi-layered identity game played out right in the middle of international transit hubs.
Okay, let's dive right in with a number that sets the stakes immediately. $17,000. Now, for many of us, that might be the price of a decent used car. But for a migrant coming from the valleys of Nepal, it is a staggering, life-changing fortune. We're talking about liquidated family assets, massive loans, and entire life savings poured into a single, highly volatile investment. It's essentially the steep entry fee required just to buy a ticket into this underground system.
So, what exactly are they buying with all that money? Well, the ultimate goal is simple. Destination, Paris. At any cost. The massive allure of Western Europe, the promise of maybe standing under the Eiffel Tower or finally navigating those iconic French cityscapes, it acts as this incredibly powerful magnet. But to actually reach it, these migrants aren't just hopping online and buying a plane ticket. They're purchasing a highly tactical, completely illegal evasion strategy. It's an operation specifically designed to cheat one of the most secure systems on the planet, international aviation borders.
And that $17,000 of capital doesn't just go to one guy. It fuels an entire underground economy. First, the migrant has to travel to a hub just to meet the broker. That's the crucial facilitator who actually takes the payment. Then, that broker orchestrates the most critical piece of the whole puzzle, the fabrication of an original quality forged ID, usually a European citizen's card. And finally, a big chunk of that money buys the transit strategy. These are the specific step-by-step instructions, the proxy boarding passes, and the exact security evasion tactics required to actually pull this whole thing off.
Now, you might be asking yourself, why on earth would someone take this kind of extreme risk? Well, for many, the alternative is legal limbo. We're talking years, sometimes a full decade spent navigating official, highly bureaucratic refugee channels. It's a life completely trapped in prolonged uncertainty, where systemic delays just slowly drain a person's hope and their resources. Contrast that with the underground alternative. Pure frustration pushes migrants toward these clandestine networks because the brokers promise a guaranteed, immediate route. It really is the illusion of a shortcut. But as we'll see, it's actually the beginning of a dangerous labyrinth.
Let's move into Section 1, Architects of Forgery, Weaponizing Identity.
The journey to Paris almost never goes in a straight line. Istanbul actually serves as the primary geographic hub for this entire operation. It's the crucial meeting point where desperate migrants rendezvous with these illicit agents. Istanbul's unique position, bridging Europe and Asia, makes it an absolute hotbed for this network. Here, brokers are coordinating across borders, utilizing these highly sophisticated forgery rings. And the promise they sell in these crowded streets is absolute. An end-to-end package covering everything from the fabricated passports to the exact choreographed steps needed to evade border control.
Which brings us to the real centerpiece of the entire $17,000 package, the Hungarian illusion. Agents provide the migrants with IDs from EU nations, like Hungary, specifically because it grants them perceived freedom of movement within the border-free Schengen zone. But the absolutely crucial point here is the quality. These are not your average, crude fakes printed in someone's basement. They are original quality, engineered to survive intense physical and visual inspection by trained gate agents, complete with holographic overlays and microprinting. This single piece of plastic is quite literally the golden ticket required to board a flight to France, designed to completely erase and replace the migrant's actual identity.
Section 2. Anatomy of a Crossing. The Terminal Heist.
The evasion strategy here relies on something incredibly counterintuitive. You'd probably think they immediately use the fake ID, right? Well, they don't. Step 1 is legitimate entry, just calmly approaching the very first layer of airport security. Step 2 is deploying their authentic passport, so in this case, their real Nepali passport. And Step 3 is crossing that threshold. Security clears the authentic document, which allows them completely legally into the secure international departure zone. At the moment of that initial breach, the migrant is facing the most heavily armed and trained security right at the front doors. So, to avoid immediate detection, they use the truth to hide a lie. Presenting their real Nepali passport ensures they don't trigger any immediate alarms whatsoever. To the guards, they're just a legitimate traveler entering the transit hub, But once they're inside that secure zone, that's when the true operation begins. This brings us to what has to be the most nerve-wracking phase of the entire journey, the terminal swap. Once past that initial security, the migrant heads to pretty much the only unmonitored zone left in a modern airport, a bathroom stall. Here, the true identity has to completely disappear. The authentic Nepali passport, the exact one they just used to get inside, is physically stashed away. Often, it's actually hidden deep inside the traveler's shoe just to evade any potential gateside pat-downs. Simultaneously, the extraction happens. That forged European ID, the $17,000 Hungarian persona, is pulled from a hidden pocket ready for deployment. But here's the catch. A fake ID isn't enough on its own. You need a matching ticket to clear the final hurdle. So, the migrant now has to execute a rendezvous right there inside the terminal, meeting an internal contact, a proxy, who's actually working with the smuggling ring. In a super quick exchange near the departure gates, the proxy hands over a legitimate boarding pass for a flight to Paris. The trick? That ticket was purchased under the name matching the forged Hungarian ID. So, armed with the fake ID and the matching pass, the migrant approaches the final gate, now entirely stripped of their original nationality, just holding their breath as that barcode gets scanned.
Let's look a bit closer at this in Section 3, breaking down the deception, the identity matrix.
As you can see, this isn't just about having a fake passport. It's a really complex, three-layered legal strategy. Layer 1 is the actual identity, the true Nepali nationality deployed at the first checkpoint, which carries very low risk because it's completely authentic. Layer 2 is the transit identity, the forged Hungarian persona deployed at the departure gate just to gain that freedom of movement. Now, this carries incredibly high risk. Discovery here means immediate detention. But then there's a third layer, the fail-safe identity, a claimed Syrian nationality that's to be deployed only in the interrogation room if everything goes wrong. It's an extreme maneuver for sure. Let's look at exactly why this third layer even exists.
Because despite that massive investment, the meticulous bathroom swap, and the perfect proxy handoff, the house almost always wins. Detection remains a very high probability. Border authorities are highly trained to spot even these original quality forgeries. And when they do, the illusion collapses instantly. A hand comes down on that piece of plastic, and the carefully constructed Hungarian persona just dissolves. The $17,000 is completely gone in a single second. And in this terrifying moment of interception, that pre-planned failsafe we just looked at is immediately triggered.
Section 4. The desperate failsafe. If I am caught, I have to say that I am Syrian. This is the strict directive given by the brokers. It's a sobering, really heartbreaking reality. The very second that Hungarian ID is flagged, the migrant has to pivot instantly to a completely different persona, claiming to be a refugee from a devastating war zone.
So why claim to be Syrian when the authorities likely already suspect you're lying? Well, it acts as a legal shield. By claiming statelessness or origin from a severe conflict zone like Syria, it legally complicates immediate deportation. Human rights laws make it incredibly difficult to instantly deport someone back to an active war zone. The reality is that at this stage, it's no longer about reaching Paris. That dream is totally dead. This failsafe is simply the last remaining defense to stay in the system, a desperate legal maneuver just to avoid being sent all the way back to square one in Nepal.
Finally, Section 5, a labyrinth without end.
This right here is the true, devastating shape of the underground labyrinth. It all begins with the dream, the unwavering desire for Europe. Then comes that massive $17,000 investment. But as we've seen, it often just leads to interception at the border, which results in a severe travel ban. This forces the migrant right into the wait, stuck in legal limbo, entirely stripped of their funds, just waiting for those bans to expire. And tragically, the cycle rarely ever breaks. It inevitably leads to the pivot. The migrant, unable to go back home and facing crushing debt, tries again via alternative, often cheaper and way more dangerous routes, like crossing the open sea. Try once, twice, 3 times. It is an endless loop designed to extract capital and trap the most desperate among us.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound question to end this explainer on. We've traced the money, we've looked at the incredible tactics of the terminal swap and those heartbreaking legal failsafes, but if $17,000 only buys a migrant a place in an endless, punishing cycle of deception and interception, who is truly profiting from this golden mirage? Is it the brokers in Istanbul, the forgery rings, or just the system itself? It's a harsh reality that's happening every single day in the very terminals we casually walk through, completely out of sight. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the migration labyrinth.
Keep questioning what you see, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.